Yung ecological naman, the ability to adapt. Yung evolutionary resilience, Vale, to really innovate and be creative.
Resilience is really being able to spring back from adversity, but it should have learning, and therefore it strengthens you to be more resilient than before the adversity came to you.
Before COVID-19, the Philippines was already on to SMT-based measures to improve its resilience capacity. With COVID, the country was awakened to the need for resilience of our economic, health, and educational status as well.
The country as a whole is, I think, not so resilient because while we have the capabilities, the opportunities, and the resources to cope with COVID-19, the whole body is suffering because the leadership and management is not working so well. When it comes to individual resilience, those who have more resources, capabilities, and opportunities will be more resilient than those who are not.
A lot of the problems really may be interconnected, Vale. You have to look at it from a holistic point of view. It encompasses more than natural sciences or physical problem, Vale, but also it gets into the ecological, biological, as well as social pa nga.
Among issues and problems we have are poverty, ecosystem destruction, climate change, and variability.
Much of our attention is placed only after the disasters happen. What we should do really is to take early action years before the hazard strikes, and we should put our attention and our resources into that type of planning.
We need SMT-based transdisciplinary and inclusive approach to coping with possible hazards.
The fragmentation of society needs to be resolved for resilience.
Communication is very, very important, and we should communicate to the people using not just scientific communication means, but through arts, music, understand the mindset of the Filipino people so we can communicate better.
Well, the way to move forward is interoperability.
So we have to do a lot of work as a person, as a community, and as an institution to really have resilience as one of the values of the Filipinos. Yung tunay na resilience na towards improvement.
Building resilience requires sustainability science inspired by transdisciplinary approach.
To be sustainable, you have to be resilient. To be resilient, you have to be sustainable.
Go natural, go with nature's flow. Non-structural or natural interventions, as well as good planning, is the most sustainable.
Finally, we need to harness and strengthen the Filipino spirit of bayanihan.
Pero dahil kami ay nasa akademiko,
kailangan
pinag-aaralan namin
natin
yung
ano talaga ang kailangan natin not only for ourselves but for a people as a whole.
Resilience ng mga Pilipino towards the collective effort among communities and the strengthening of
Resilience Live.
Hello everyone, magandang hapon po sa lahat. Welcome to the 16th session of the Resilience Live webinar series. My name is Ella and I will be your host for today. The Resilience Live webinar series is brought to you by the UP NOAA Center and the UP Resilience Institute in partnership with the UNESCO International Geoscience Program or IGCP. We are thrilled to have participants from our esteemed partner organizations with us today. To help us acknowledge your presence, please feel free to send a message in the chat box or use the reaction feature to say hello. Now, let us recognize our partners for this episode. The University of the Philippines Los Baños Interdisciplinary Center for Integrated Natural Resources and Environment Management. We also have the Association of Geodetic Engineering Students from the Bulacan Agricultural State College, the Ateneo Institute of Sustainability, and the Youth Advocates for Climate Action Philippines. Without further ado, let me introduce our speaker. He is a licensed social worker with a master's degree in development management and governance from UP Los Baños. He has been a humanitarian and development worker since 2002, spending over a decade with the Red Cross and Red Crescent movement. Starting as a Red Cross youth volunteer, he later became a full-time staff member of the Philippine Red Cross, handling community-based disaster risk reduction projects. He then joined the IFRC Philippine Country Office as Senior Disaster Risk Management Officer, supporting various programs including DRR, climate change adaptation, migration, and gender and diversity. Currently, he is a technical consultant for the Zurich Climate Resilience Alliance projects of the Philippine and Fiji Red Cross Societies. Here to talk about measuring community resilience to multiple hazards, I am handing off the spotlight to Mr. Seth Sarmiento for his presentation.
Thank you, Ella, and good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank first UP Resilience Institute for inviting us and providing us the opportunity to present the climate resilience measurement for communities. So today I will be sharing with you the climate resilience measurement for communities tool and process that we are using here in the Philippines and also in Fiji. This is part of the Zurich Climate Resilience Alliance and actually a phase 3 of the previous flood resilience measurement for communities, or FRMC. So this afternoon, I will be talking about what resilience is for the Zurich Climate Resilience Alliance, who we are, what we do, and where we work. And then I'll be presenting the measuring community resilience through the tool and the process of the CRMC. And then I will be sharing a case study from the flood resilience measurement for communities project in Dorongan Valerio in Mangatang. So for starters, we have various concepts and definition of resilience. For IFRC and for UNDRR, it's pretty much similar the way these our two organizations have defined resilience. They look at resilience as an ability of either an individual, a community, an organization, or a system. And I do believe UPRI also has a similar concept and definition of resilience. So it means that when we talk about resilience, we talk about an ability that can be developed, that can be improved, or it's an attribute that is existent in the community. So for the Zurich Climate Resilience Alliance, or ZICRA, our definition of climate resilience is the ability of a system, community, society to pursue its social, ecological, and economic development and growth while managing its climate risk over time in a mutually reinforcing way. So if it doesn't go far from what the IFRC and UNDRR's own definition and concept of resilience, but for this time, the ZICRA is also looking at how we can influence and change systems in terms of affecting or impacting the resilience of communities. So I'll be sharing with you an overview of the Zurich Climate Resilience Alliance, what this alliance is, what do we do, what we're working on, and who are the members of this alliance. So for the Zurich Climate Resilience Alliance, our vision is a world where communities are resilient to climate hazards, enabling them to thrive. We have an overall goal that that runs since from 2024 to 2035. We have a goal of reaching and positively impacting 70 million people worldwide. Or in short term, by 2027, we're targeting about 5.5 million people. In the Philippines, we have a target of 8 million, 8.5 million people until 2035. So the Zurich Climate Resilience Alliance is made up of different organizations that work in different countries around the world. We have, aside from IFRC, we have Concern Worldwide, we have Practical Action, we have Plan International, and Mercy Corps. These are the main organizations that are implementing the program in different communities in different countries. We also have our research and academic partners like IASA, ICET, and the London School of Economics. And then we have our main donor and partner, the Zurich Foundation. So these are the partners that work in different countries around the world, from the Philippines, from Asia, in Africa, South America. So these are different countries where the alliance is currently working and implementing the tool and the process. So now I'll be sharing and talking about measuring community resilience through the CRMC tool and process. So the climate resilience measurement for communities, or CRMC, it's comprised of two main parts. Number one is the framework for measuring community resilience to climate-related hazards. And second is an associated tool for implementing the framework in practice. So for the Alliance, the community resilience to climate hazards, it goes beyond infrastructure. The CRMC approach, the framework and the tool, it is grounded in scientific methodologies and evidence-based assessment frameworks to measure climate resilience at the community level. It also integrates quantitative and qualitative data to provide a holistic understanding of risk, vulnerabilities, and adaptive capacities of the communities. This approach, the CRMC approach, it ensures also context-specific resilience measurement. It incorporates local knowledge, and it's a mixed methods data collection. So for the when we define and when we understand what resilience is, then the next question for us is, how can we tell if a community has resilience? So, or indeed if it is if the community is improving its resilience. There are a number of frameworks that talk about the characteristics of a resilient system. And through research, we have adopted a model originally developed in the context of earthquake engineering. So this model, it identifies 4 key characteristics which a system will exhibit under stress, which allows to deal with that stress. These collectively are referred to as the 4 Rs, or the 4 properties of resilience. So by their nature, it is hard to see and measure these qualities, especially in the absence of a stress. So we need to take our model a step further and ask if a system or the community has these characteristics and what provides them. So the source of resilience, we have defined the resilience that we have, the sources of resilience that we have defined, they fall naturally into the second half of our theoretical model, the 5 Cs, or the 5 capitals of the Sustainable Livelihoods Framework. This is just one of the lenses that we can analyze the data. We have also characterized this through a number of other groupings. And then by doing so, we can twist and turn the data to look for connections. So by analyzing the community as a system, we can see the interdependencies between sources and then spot opportunities for programming that provides multiple benefits. And those multiple benefits were never more clear than when our program areas were impacted by COVID. So by analyzing the connections, we were able to see opportunities to respond to the health and social crisis, but in ways that also would provide improved community resilience. This is an example of some of the sources of resilience that we have identified. So there are general sources like asset protection knowledge, community disaster risk management planning, community structures for mutual assistance. There are also hazard-specific sources and hazard-unique sources, meaning these are sources that are specific for a flood or floods and specific for heat waves, or these are sources that are only unique for floods or only unique for heat waves. So from the previous tool that we used, the flood resilience measurement for communities, we only use about 44 sources in our studies. But for this climate resilience measurement for communities, or CRMC, we are using about 76 sources of resilience. So these are just a few of those sources that we are looking at as attributes or indicators of resilience for the communities. Again, through research into the nature of a community, our conclusion was that the ways in which a community builds, maintains, and uses its assets or resources, it could create and develop these 4 Rs, these 4 characteristics or 4 properties of resilience. In fact, these assets are crucial in terms of how a community meets development objectives too. So just an overview of the sources. I know 76 sources are a lot of indicators for a study, but when we identify a community that is with a high risk for flood, we will only be using about 52 sources if we run the CRNC tool. About 50 sources if we run it for a heat wave hazard. But if we identify the community and we run the CRMC for flood and heat, we will be using and looking at the 76 sources. So these sources, they can be grouped, as I said, they can be categorized and grouped to the different capitals, the human, social, physical, natural, and financial. They can also be categorized under the 4 Rs or through the DRM cycle. I'll be showing a short video about the FRMC tool that was used from 2018 until 2023.
The FRMC tool is a practical hybrid software application comprising an online web-based platform for setting up and analyzing the process and a mobile-based application that can be used offline in the field for data collection. To measure each source of resilience in each community, data can be collected in 4 different ways, such as household surveys, key informant interviews, focus group discussions, and the use of secondary sources according to context and need. After data is collected on the app, it is uploaded to the web application. Assessors grade each of the 44 sources of resilience on an A to D scale, with A being best practice and D being poor. The 44 grades between A and D awarded to each community are then aggregated in different ways for analysis. Aggregations or lenses by which resilience can be viewed include the 5 capitals or 5 Cs, the 4 properties of resilience or the 4 Rs, the 7 themes and the 5 steps of the disaster risk management or DRM cycle.
So the CRMC tool or the FRMC tool, the previous FRMC tool, it promotes a system-based approach to resilience and recognizes the interconnectedness of environmental, physical, economic, and social factors. Given that the Philippines' high vulnerability to climate risk, the approach offers a scientifically robust yet locally adaptable framework for disaster preparedness, climate change adaptation, and a broader resilience programming for both the government and other organizations. So how do we measure the sources of resilience? As mentioned in the video, we look at the different sources of resilience, the 76 sources of resilience, and then we assign a grade to each of those sources. So it's either a grade of A, B, C, or D, depending on the data collected from the community. And then afterwards, when we have graded those resources, we will, from the system, the web-based platform, it will provide an overall resilience score for the community, and it will also provide a visualized a visualization of the resilience lenses. Like for example, it will provide a score for the 5 capitals of the community, and a score for the 7 teams, the 4 R's of the DRM cycle. So the platform, it provides a pre-analysis. It provides a pre-analysis of the study that can support and help both the project team and also the community in planning interventions that would address these degraded sources. If you would like to know more about resilience measurement, the study, and the other research studies conducted, you can read more about this from the papers of Adriana Keating. Adriana is one of our experts and a member of the Zurich Climate Resilience Alliance. Her work and her colleagues' work are mostly the basis of how we were able to develop the FRMC and the CRMC tool. So these are just two of the main works of Adriana Keating and her colleagues that are related to the climate resilience measurement for communities. What's more important after conducting the study using the tool, the CRMC tool in the communities, is sharing and using this result to plan and improve the resilience of the community. So we share and present the result of the study through the 5C4R lens so that it can be more, that the community members can appreciate and understand more the results of the study. We're also sharing the grade A results, not just the grade D sources, because it's also important the community to understand what are their strengths in terms of their resilience. And then we engage community leaders and other community members in planning interventions based on the results of the study. For now, I'll be presenting a case study from Dorongan Valerio in Mangataren, Pangasinan. This was where we conducted the flood resilience measurement for communities from 2018 to 2023.
Floods affect more people globally than any other type of natural hazard and cause some of the largest humanitarian, social, and economic losses. In the Philippines, typhoons and floods constitute 80% of disasters over the past 20 years. According to the DILG, the severe floods were triggered by typhoons, monsoon season, and environmental factors such as deforestation. According to the Mines and Geosciences Bureau's Flood Susceptibility Assessment, the northern eastern portion of the municipality of Mangataren is characterized with high to very high susceptibility to flood hazard.
Dito sa amin, parating pagbabawa bagyo, binaba kami dito.
Pagka sunod-sunod po yung tag-ulan, kasi po mababa po kami dito, low-lying area po ang aming barangay. So parang catch basin po kami ng mga nanggagaling doon sa mataas na area, lalo na doon sa Kamiling, kasi doon po nanggagaling yung tubig sa Kamiling River po.
Nag-iisi ang baha ng minsan mga 2 weeks, minsan nga po na ano pa rin ng 1 month.
Pag sa daan po, hanggang dito sa Baywang, doon na sa ibaba, medyo mga hanggang lig na. Sa bundok rin minsan, dahil wala ng puno ng mga kahoy dyan, Pag umulan ng diri-diretso, sigurado ang tubig bababa rin dito sa amin. Kasi lowland area to sa amin po eh. Pinakamababa.
So that's the community where we work with for the Philippine Red Cross. It's in Dorongan Valeria in Mangataren, Pangasinan. So from the baseline study or the T0 study that we conducted in 2019, and then the endline study that we did in 2023, we can see that after implementing targeted interventions in the community, we were able to increase the A-graded sources in the community, and then also reducing the degraded sources in the community. So some of the degraded sources from our baseline study, the T0 study, includes environmental management awareness, water and sanitation awareness, flood healthcare access, household income continuity strategy, flood emergency infrastructure, priority managed unit, large-scale flood protection, flood emergency food supply, flood waste contamination, and integrated flood management planning. Those highlighted in yellow, the four sources highlighted here, are the only sources that remain that we graded D still in the endline study because of several factors. It's not because the community wasn't able to improve these sources. It was because of external factors that are beyond the control of the community. Like, for example, the integrated flood management planning, which was degraded during the baseline study, and still in the end line after 4 years, it was still degraded because the current type and modality of the DRM planning of the government, both for barangay and municipal levels, are very broad and generic in terms of it's focused more on multi-hazards, like different hazards like typhoons, floods, whatever. So in terms of Dorongan Valeria in Mangataren, which is flooded year after year, especially during the monsoon season, we saw that it's very important to influence the government, those who are developing the plans and funding those plans, to have a more hazard specific management plan, like for example an integrated flood management plan aside and outside of the DRM plan that they have. So as I said, the system, it provides a visualization of the data, and these are the scores. So aside, these scores are provided by the system. It aggregates the data provided for each of the source during the data collection, the ones that we gathered through household surveys, through focus group discussions, key informant interviews, and then the system aggregates this and put this all together and then provide a score. And then you can choose whether you want to see the score based on the 5 C's, the 5 capitals, or based on the 4 R's, or based on the DRM cycle. So there are different ways to see and analyze the data coming from the community. And it also provides support to the project team when grading the sources at the end of the process. So just to share with you some of the community interventions that were proposed by the community members, they include risk awareness, capacity building, like first aid training, community-based health and first aid, WASH, early warning system, environmental protection and management. And then we also provided equipping and infrastructure support and other support to community DRR mechanisms. I just want to share that this particular community of Dorongan Valeria, when we started doing the study way back in 2019, what the community members were sharing with us is about their challenge and issues about flooding and how it affects their livelihood, how it affects the farm production and the income of each household when in 2018 from July to November they were being flooded month after month, so they were nabaon sila sa utang. So that was that was what we were seeing when we were doing the baseline study. But after the T0 study, one of the things that the community realized when we were sharing the result is that the healthcare access of the community members was really a challenge and a problem, because they have a physical healthcare center, but they don't have but it wasn't very functional. And especially during the flood season, community members were either pregnant or have infants with them that requires monthly checkups. They cannot access the healthcare facility, and they cannot go to the rural health unit in the town proper. So if you can see at the picture, one of the things that they proposed and requested is this mobile health clinic. I can discuss. I have a video that can discuss it more for you.
Sunod po, lalo na po pag si habagat na po yung dumali sa amin, wash out po lahat, pati ang aming bahay.
So bilang kami na mga maliliit na nasa baba, kami po ang dapat na nakakaalam kung ano po yung mga hinaing at pangangailangan ng aming mga kabarangay.
Yun ang main goal natin na kahit anong disaster man parating o walang disaster, ini-ensure natin yung safety ng bawat isa.
Nag-start po yung mobile clinic nung pong mga time po na halos po yung mga iba naming kababaryo po ay hindi po namin ma-reach dahil malayo po sila sa center, lalo na po dun sa mga vulnerable po. So, nag-ask po kami ng mobile clinic po sa Red Cross. Ang pagkakaiba po is dati po, kumbaga hindi namin nakikita po yung mga nangangailangan. Kumbaga mabilis po namin silang mapuntahan sa ngayon po.
Nung dumating ang Red Cross sa aming barangay 2018, nung nag-start, 5 times po kaming binaha. Kaya doon din nalaman kung paano makakatulong yung rehabilitasyon ng Balangubong Creek para maibsan at mabawasan yung lalim ng baha. Nagkataon na nagpa-seminar ang Philippine Red Cross. At bilang representative ng Barangay Durungan Valerio, nandyan po ang aming mga volunteer Red Cross ng aming barangay, at ang inyong lingkod sa Barangay Kagawad ay naidulog namin ang aming pangangailangan na kailangang ipagawa ang aming Balangubong Creek.
Ang pinaka-importante po kasi sa mga project po nito, yung magbibigay sa mga communities ng disaster preparedness. Ang halimbawa po niyan, may mga RC-143 po tayo, Red Cross 143 sa barangay na mga volunteers, at meron po tayong barangay Flood Resilience Committee na sila rin po yung nagbibigay ng impormasyon sa BDRMC, at ang BDRMC po natin, nakatulong po ang mga volunteers po natin na nagbibigay sa amin na kung anong nangyayari or ano yung mga pwedeng gawin na sa barangay. Yung sa community naman, kung number one kasi sa community, kung ang leadership natin is maganda sa pakikitungo sa mga kabarangay niya or communities niya, kung ano man yung gagawin nating programa or magkakaroon ng magandang samahan.
So if you want to learn more about the Zurich Climate Resilience Alliance, please visit our website, www.zzralliance.org. You can scan the QR code there. If you want the The Zikra Alliance website, it contains a lot of resources. It also contains a link to the CRMC tool. If you want to know more about the tool, you can send me an email, or you can send the email through the help tab on the website. And then you can also browse through all the resources, the previous studies, and the related and connected research studies about resilience measurement. So thank you for listening. I do hope you learned something from my presentation, from our discussion. You can, if you have any burning questions, you can email me. You can also look me up on LinkedIn or on X. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Ayan, maraming salamat, Seth, for your very informative presentation. Today, we explored how the Climate Resilience Measurement for Communities, or the CRMC, provides a data-driven approach to assessing and strengthening community resilience against multiple hazards. Through the 5 Cs and the 4 Rs framework, structured data collection, and targeted interventions, CRMC helps communities translate insights into action. The case study on the municipality of Mangatarem in Pangasinan showcased real-world applications highlighting how resilience measurement leads to concrete improvements. This discussion underscores the importance of strategic, evidence-based approaches in building adaptive and climate-resilient communities. All right. I'm sure our audience has learned a lot about the topic, but I'm also certain that many have their own thoughts and questions. So at this point, we will be opening the floor for any questions our attendees may have. Please use the Zoom reaction button to raise your hand and wait for the host, me, to call your name and unmute you before speaking. For those who would prefer it, we will also entertain questions sent to the chat box. Those watching through Facebook Live or YouTube may also send your questions below. To kick off our Q&A session, Seth, with regards to the case study on the municipality of Mangatarem in Pangasinan, has the LGU used the CRMC framework in the formulation of their local development plan, such as the CLUP, yung land use plan po nila? I ask this because the concepts of the CRMC and the study recommended by DSUD, which is the Climate and Disaster Risk Assessment, or CIDRA, have similarities in measuring an area or community's risk and resilience.
Thank you, Ella. We have shared and submitted the study results with the MDRMO of Mangatarem, and I think the study influenced somehow their local development planning and the DRM planning of the municipality. In fact, I think the MDRMO wants to replicate the kind of programming that we did in the 6 barangays. Aside from the Ronald Valero, we also work in 5 other barangays in Mangatarem. He wants to replicate a similar programming in all the other barangays of Mangatarem. So I think that the study, it's a bit comprehensive and lengthy process, but it's really, for me, it's a way to provide evidence-based, provide more information to the local decision makers, the mayor, the city council, the municipal council, the DRM council, that we have a more targeted approach in terms of how do we improve or how do we strengthen the resilience of community? What are the different sources that we need to target? It's a more effective and efficient way of investing our resources, of using our resources to support the community's resilience.
Ayan, it's good to know po na nagamit po nung community natin yung ating tool, no? Sige, meron pong naka-raise ng hand si participant Christian Audrey Gabriel. Pwede na po kayong mag-unmute ng mic nyo.
Hello. So, thank you, Mr. Seth, for that interesting presentation. So, share ko lang po, nakaka-relate po ako doon sa mismong framework nyo po since as a researcher, So, ina-assist po namin mga local LGU to promote or prepare their local plans, which is to promote sustainable urban development, disaster resilience, and community preparedness through preparing their local plans, in also by creating risk-informed and evidence-based and science-driven local plans. So, ang ang question ko po is, ano po yung limitation ng framework nyo po? And ano po yung pwede nyong i-improve pa after po nun?
Thank you, Christian. The CRMC tool, it's already an improvement of the FRMC tool, the flood resilience measurement for communities that was primarily used during phase 2 of the alliance from 2018 to 2023. So the one that we used in Mga Terem was the FRMC tool. That tool uses 44 sources of resilience in terms of flooding. The CRMC tool uses around 76 sources. The limitation of the tool and the process is, one, as I said, it's quite comprehensive and lengthy. Something that would need the patience and the resourcefulness of the community. When we partnered with them, it took us about a year to finish the whole study. The data collection itself, it took us about 2 months, and then analyzing the data, and then working together with the community members, working with the LGU and other stakeholders. But what we learned from the previous experiences is that we should not limit ourselves from the 44 sources when we were doing the flood resilience. The 44 sources are just somehow the recommended sources that we can look into when we're talking about flood risk in the community and how we can strengthen the resilience of communities in terms of flood. But there are other sources that we still don't know yet, that we may discover in the future when we start working with these communities. So yeah, that's the limitation. Plus the tool and the process, it's technology based. It's only available on the website platform and on mobile devices. So when we gather data, we have to upload the data to the system, and the system will pre-analyze it and will provide us a visualization of it. So for some, it can be very limiting because you have to use all this technology while you're working with the community. But to some, this is an advantage because it provides for example, the project team, it provides them an easy way to analyze and understand the data. Imagine you're gathering data for 76 sources. So that's a lot of data sets coming from like 100 households when you do the survey. So the system helps and supports the project team to analyze this and share the results and findings with the community.
Opo. Tsaka dagdag ko rin po, no, isipin po natin hindi po pen and paper yung system na ginagamit natin. Paano pa kaya kung naka-pen and paper pa tayo? Sobrang lengthy nung process and hindi siya cost effective, kumbaga. Sige, maraming salamat sa participant na nag-share ng kanyang thoughts, and I hope na nasagot po ni Seth yung inyong katanungan. Meron pa po tayong question mula sa chat box. May nagtanong po, is your initiative also in line with the Climate Reality Project?
In the Philippines, we haven't partnered with, aside from Plan International, is also working with the SICRA in the Philippines. We don't have major partners yet, aside from the governments that the local governments that we're working with. But on a global level, the Zurich Foundation, the main partner that works with global partners, they've been working with different organizations, both government, international organizations, and other humanitarian organizations. Also our academic partners, alliance members, the AICET, the ASA and LSC, they're also working with other academic institutions to broaden the studies and the research that we are conducting in different countries. But in terms of are we in line with Climate Reality Project? I'm not particularly knowledgeable about the Climate Reality Project, although I've heard about it. But in the Philippines, we haven't partnered yet with any other organizations aside from those that on the global level we already have partners with, like for example the IFRC. We already have partners with ICLEI, with C40, UNDRR, and WWF. So
Sige po. Dun po sa mga, baka po may participants tayo na gusto makipag-partner kay Seth. Message na lang po kami or message na lang po siya for more partnerships. Sige po. Next question po natin na galing sa Q&A box from an anonymous participant. Sabi niya po, "Hi Mr. Seth. Thank you for a very insightful presentation. Are there resilience measurement frameworks that specifically focus on indigenous knowledge and practices? Thank you."
Thank you for the question. Yes, actually, when we talk about resilience measurement, there's a lot. There's volumes of research and studies that you can look into. It's all available online. When you look up Adriana Keating, when you look her up and you try to read all her works and together with her colleagues, they studied this. Like so many research studies from different universities, from different research institutions in terms of resilience measurement, in terms of the measuring resilience, not just to disasters, not just to climate, but to other factors, to other areas as well. So I would assume that there are resilience measurement frameworks on indigenous knowledge and practices also.
Okay po, maraming salamat. Next question po natin ay galing din po sa anonymous participant. Sabi niya po, "Hello Sir Seth. From your perspective, how can resilience measurement frameworks evolve to account for emerging threats such as climate-induced displacement or flood security?" Food security po pala, sorry.
Thank you. As I said, when the alliance started, during phase 1, it was still the flood resilience measurement. Until phase 2, it was still the flood resilience measurement. The framework, the tool, the process, it keeps on improving. From phase 1, the original FRMC tool was gathering data for 88 sources. And then after, I think, 4 years, they trimmed it down to 44 when they finished the initial implementation of the tool in different communities in different countries. So from 44 sources, from a flood-specific resilience measurement, the Alliance quickly transformed into climate hazards. So from 2022, when the discussion started among Alliance members, from flood resilience, very quickly transformed into a climate resilience alliance. So it's a quick transition, and then because it was because of the realization that climate-related hazards are also affecting vulnerable communities, and it's not just flood alone. So we're looking aside from flood, we're also looking at heat waves, we're looking at storms. So I think to answer the question, you have to test and retest your framework, the tools that you're using, and you can evaluate and see what's missing, what are your strengths, what's good about the framework and what's not good about the framework, and then you evaluate and then you review.
Okay. Sana nasagot po ni Seth yung question nyo po from our anonymous participant. May isa pa po tayong anonymous participant po ulit na nagtatanong. Sabi niya po ay, "Hi sir, Based on your experience, what are the most effective ways to communicate resilience measurement results to communities in a way that leads to action? Kasi 'di ba we want na yung mga results ng studies na kinokonduct natin ay hindi lang hanggang libro or papel. Gusto natin syempre na malaman ito ng mga communities involved at para ma-actionan din, especially if we recommend policy interventions and the like. Thank you po.
Thank you for the question. Alam mo, it's also one of my advocacy after finishing graduate school. I mean, coming from a community worker and seeing the dynamics in a community when you work with them, and then going to graduate school and doing all the research and everything and studies. Isa sa mga nakikita kong issue is how do we translate all this research conducted by universities and other research institutions, and how can we transform this into something actionable and something na naiintindihan ng mga communities, like the community members that we work with on a daily basis. When we started presenting the results of the FRMC in Mangataring, Pangasinan, we asked ourselves, paano ito maintindihan ng mga tao? These are very highly technical terms, and when you look at the sources, it's the 44 sources themselves. They're in English and they're very technical, like household asset recovery, business continuity, education continuity, transportation, energy, and the likes. So what we did was we prepared some visual aids na makikita nila, maiintindihan nila na itong source na to, ito ay related sa ganitong capital, related to sa inyong financial capital. So in-explain namin ano yung financial capital nyo, ano yung social capital nyo, ano yung human capital nyo. So nabibigay kami example. And then pinapakita namin sa kanila ano yung scores, saan kayo mataas, saan kayo mababa, bakit kayo mababa dito. Binibigay namin sa kanila yung data na nakuha namin kasi sabi ng 90% ng households ganito. Kasi sabi ng 70% ng kababaihan ganito. So, binibigyan namin sila, aside sa visual aid na pinapakita namin sa kanila, binibigyan namin sila ng data na nanggaling mismo sa kanila. So, pinaprovide namin. So, isa yun sa mga paraan para mas maintindihan something na magko-connect sa kanila. Like for example, in terms of dun sa financial capital na mababa sila, mababa yung score nila. So binibigay namin sa kanila based sa mga household surveys sa FGDs, sa KIIs namin. Binibigyan namin sila na concrete example na kasi base po sa nag-gather namin, nakuha namin data galing sa inyo, ganito. Ito yung sinabi, ito yung nakuha namin. Something na nakaka-relate kagad sa nakaka-connect sa kanila. So I think isa to sa mga dapat pa rin natin pag-aralan na paano natin mabibridge yung gap na yun ng mga scientific studies and magagamit natin siya para ma-improve at makatulong sa ating mga communities.
Ayan, dagdag ko rin po, no, para sa kanila din naman kasi talaga yung ginagawa natin with regards to CCADRRM and resilience-related work. Sige po. May nag-message po sa akin from Renalyn May Evaristo. Sabi niya po, Good afternoon, Sir Seth. Greetings from humanity. Could this tool be used for future climate challenges or can it be used in multi-hazard approach?
As of the moment, the tool and the process is a multi-hazard approach. Can we use it for future climate challenges? As I said, for us to measure the resilience of the community, we have to conduct a T0 study, a baseline study. We have to conduct a T1 study, a T2 study over time. So you can see the improvement of how, like for example, if you work on a specific source with a specific intervention, did it result to an improvement from a D grade to a C grade or a B grade? So if you only use a T0 and T1 study, you can only like evaluate the tool based on a span of like 3 or 5 years. But you can also continue using the tool. If you're doing interventions, if you're introducing interventions to the community. Pwede kang mag-T2 study, mag-T3 over time. You can still use it. You can see the improvement of the community.
Ayan, sige po. Thank you po sa pagsagot. We're now down to our last question. May nag-message po sa chat box kanina. May nagtatanong po kung pwede niyo po bang i-share yung presentation natin sa ating participants?
Yes, I
Okay.
will send you the slides after this. I will send it to you and Ella.
Okay po, sige po, salamat. Para po dun sa iba nating participants, ma-access din po natin yung episode na ito doon sa UPRI website. Tsaka nasa YouTube din po siya. Naka-live stream po tayo ngayon. Okay po. It looks like we have covered all of your questions. Let us now move on to the next part of the session. If you have more to ask our speaker, you may send them to the UPRI Facebook page as messages. This will be forwarded to Seth after this session. Before we officially end today's episode, we would like to request everyone to open your camera for a quick photo op. Engineer Audrey will be taking our photos, so everyone, please ready your smiles.
So, for window 1 po, so, ready your smiles. 1, 2, 3. For window 2 po, ready your smiles. 1, 2, 3. For window 3 po, so, ready your smiles. 1, 2, 3. So, thank you. That's all.
Ayan. Before we officially end today's episode, we would like to request okay, we shall now move on to the end of our webinar. Thank you once again to Seth for sharing his time and knowledge with us this afternoon. As always, this webinar has been brought to you by the UPRI NOAA Center in partnership with UNESCO IGCP. We would also like to thank our partners once again for this episode. You may react or raise your hands if you're present. The UPLB INREM, the Association of Geodetic Engineering Students from BASI, the Ateneo Institute of Sustainability, and YAKAP. For those who want to collaborate with us, you may reach us via the UP NOAA Facebook page, or you may email us at theresilience.institute@up.edu.ph or info@noaa.up.edu.ph. The next session will be on April 24, 2025, so see you all this summer. Please stay tuned to the UPRI Facebook page for announcements or our next speaker and featured topic. Before we officially close this afternoon's webinar, please be reminded that participants will be issued a certificate of attendance once they have answered the evaluation form. You may find the link to the form in the chat box below. Please kindly submit the form within 24 hours. After this period, the form will be closed and we won't be able to issue certificates for any submissions made afterward. Thank you for your understanding. Ulit, maraming salamat Seth at maraming salamat din sa ating participants. We hope to see you all again at the next episode of the Resilience Live webinar series. Again, my name is Ella and it has been a pleasure being your host today.
We will keep the Zoom meeting for 5 minutes to give time for answering the evaluation form.
The webinar will close in 5, 4, 3, 2,